Good evening. Welcome to Community Accountability. I'm your host, Hugh Carroll. Tonight we are going live as normal, Saturday night from Yowowa Media Studios here in lovely downtown Niagara Falls. Tonight we have a slightly different crew at the desk. We've got, as usual, Dustin Hardy running our technical board and making things pop up on my screen in front of me that I have no understanding what they are.
Sorry.
And then we have Ohio Barb running our sound tonight. Barb, thank you so much for stepping in.
You're welcome.
Peter was off in a meeting elsewhere, was unable to be here. So yet again, we are going with no executive producer. So he's left the inmates to run the asylum for him here. This will be a fun night.
Excuse me, Hugh. You are the executive producer.
No, I tagged Peter with that one. I
just do as I'm told.
I'm just the ugly guy on the camera with the good idea.
Yes.
Who you calling ugly?
Well, yeah, that's both of us kidding. So, tonight our phone lines are going to be open from the very start here at 716-563-1710. I'm open to anybody with any input on any subject tonight. I'm not going to be asking anyone to stick to my topic. As I have no guest tonight, I'm reaching out with a, excuse me there. I'm going to be getting into a different topic and maybe a couple of topics. But still, the overall general theme of the show is the same as always, community accountability. We are accountable to our community. In order to have a safe city, you must first have a safe community. To have your community be safe, your neighborhood must be safe. For your neighborhood to be safe, it starts on your block and it starts with your front porch. You need to be out there knowing your neighbors, talking, being friendly with everybody. Strangers walking down the street, let them see that the neighborhood's out there watching. And maybe you can prevent the minor crimes, which will lead into the heavier crimes. Maybe you can even push a criminal element that's already starting to get hold out of your neighborhood. Forgive me, I've had a long day, therefore I get a little dry throat action going on. But Kim, good to see you as always. You are one of our dedicated listeners. We also have a few other dedicated listeners I'd like to acknowledge before we get too much into the show tonight. We have a man that we call Sidecar Mike Evans. He's down in South Carolina. He's been listening on a regular basis, and I get input from him during the week. We also have Katie and Kelly down in Largo, Clearwater, Florida area. The two of them better be listening because Christmas is coming and you're my little sisters.
Dun, dun, dun.
I don't get them anything anyway.
We don't have Peter to do the sound effects, so I think I'm going to have to do it myself.
Oh, this will be fun.
Oh, no.
Also, Kelly in Virginia. I don't know if you're in Virginia or somewhere over along the Mid-Atlantic area tearing down another building. But as he drives back and forth the 7-hour drive every week from his home to his job, he does listen to us also. So he's probably not here live, but thank you, Kelly. I appreciate you too. Now, on to the subject of tonight. Big part of crime is repeat criminals. We have an issue where a felony conviction, no matter how major, how minor, has become a lifetime sentence. Forever, when an employer does a background check, a landlord does a background check, banks do background checks before they give mortgages. That felony will show up, and you will be denied. Some jobs, I worked in heavy construction demolition for many years. Job sites such as military bases, school projects, and most government job sites, everybody being sent in on the job site has to do a background check. If you have a felony conviction, no matter how long ago it was, you are not allowed to be on that job site. This is a lifetime problem. If I can't work the good jobs because of something that happened 20, 25 years ago, and in the meantime I've corrected my life and me as an example, I'm a family man. I own my home. I own a business. I can't go and get a job on one of these job sites if my business was not to make it through the COVID. I can't go to some of these companies and get hired because I had an issue 20 years ago. I just recently got my right to vote back in New York State. Several states don't have that right. It's unjust. We lose our constitutional rights. And this should be an issue that crosses the board.
That definitely, I feel like basically goes against the, I forget which amendment it is, but basically everyone needs to be treated equal.
Well, I mean, you could. The problem with trying to play it under the Equal Protection Amendment is convicted felon is not a protected class. Just like, the gay community is a protected class. People of color are protected. Yeah. Convicted felon isn't. As far as people are concerned, convicted felon should be a lifetime sentence. The thing is, I try and keep politics out of my show, and this one should do that. Because tonight, on this topic, if you were to the extreme far left, defund and just dismantle all law enforcement and open the prison doors, let everyone out, well, obviously you're going to agree with this. But if you are to the far right, and you are one of those people who say that you live by the Constitution and that's all that should matter, nowhere in that document does it say some guy caught with a pound of weed back in high school should be forever branded as a criminal, no matter what he does afterwards. So you should also be on the same side here. This should be an apolitical issue.
Yeah.
Crime in general should be an apolitical issue. Anything that'll help reduce it. I have a belief that the reason we've seen crime rise since the 60s, a major reason, is that's when we started tracking people. Some guy who got out of prison for doing whatever the charge was back in the 50s could go to a new town, even if it was just 2 towns over, start life again, and it would be fine. They never looked at his criminal past. They didn't track him. It was stuff we didn't look at then. Once we started, you were forcing people who get out of prison
to think that they had to be a criminal.
It's their only option to get ahead.
Wow.
And many times it is. An example, there's a local stone quarry where literally you drive a dump truck by yourself all day. You back up under a big piece of heavy equipment. They put rocks into you. You take it up to the crusher. You dump it. You go back. If you've had a felony in the last 15 years, you are ineligible to work for them. That's their company policy. That makes no sense to me. Now, I'm not saying that we should just totally absolve people either. My take on this, and one of these nights I'm hoping to get some politicians from state or even federal level to contact me on this. And that's, once you've done your sentence, completely done your sentence, you are no longer under court supervision of any way, shape, or form. No more jail, no more prison, no more probation, no more parole. I think if you can go 5 years after that without being convicted of another crime, your record should be sealed to everybody except, and this is where I split down the middle again, everybody except a judge when it comes time for sentencing of a new crime. Because that man should know, hey, look, 20 years ago, this guy had an armed robbery. We're convicting him again on an armed robbery. And his sentence should reflect his continued criminal actions. But outside of that, nobody has any reason to know. If you go 5 years after probation and parole, so with no court-ordered babysitters, You go 5 years, no new charges, working your job, paying your bills, raising your family. Well, then at that point in time, you've proved you're not that person. It happened, so be it. Move on. You know, and unfortunately tonight, Dustin doesn't have much real world experience in this.
Not yet.
And you better not ever.
I won't.
Because if I have to bail you out for something, kid,
Oh, no.
you're going to wish you were in jail or your mother did it. But,
Help me.
yeah, Dustin doesn't have a lot of experience in this, but hopefully something will sink in here. Now, this could also fall under the same as the Bail Reform Act. A couple of weeks ago when Paul Beekman was in the studio with me, we discussed the bail reform. I didn't get to say the one thing I wanted to point out to him. From a law enforcement point of view, bail reform is telling criminals they can do whatever they want. From a criminal point of view, when I was out there in the streets doing dumb stuff, I never thought about, what if I get arrested? Because my thought was, I'm going to get away with this. I never thought I was going to get arrested. And when I did, it sucked, and I had to pay bail. But that was never what was on my mind. I never thought to myself, oh, Cuomo changed the laws. Criminals don't think like that. Not until you get into the pretty serious plotting and planning, and even then, they don't think they're going to get caught. If any of us thought we were going to be caught, we wouldn't do it in the first place. We think we're smarter. We get caught. Some of us change, some of us don't. But the bail reform, the way it was done was wrong, but it's not a reason for the higher crime rates we've been seeing lately. The reason for the higher crime rates, no opportunity for those. You'll take a look. Most people who are being arrested are being rearrested. So there's no opportunity. There's no incentive. And the other reason is apathy of the neighborhoods. People allowing it to happen. Closing your curtains, our normal every week subject. But a lot of it really is that we don't have the opportunity to come out and be better people. There's a story of a man who actually, probably not the best example on my thoughts here, but he was convicted of a murder down, I believe it was in Alabama, back in the 30s. He broke out, was able to get out, move along. I'm going to have to decline this call. But he broke out. He was out, went up to Chicago, got a job with a construction company during the 30s with all the money from the New Deal. Worked his way up to be a superintendent, worked his way up to be a supervisor, took his money, started his own company, and became a millionaire because he wasn't being tracked. Now, not the greatest example, he did break out of prison. If he would have finished his sentence, went and did the same thing, it would truly prove this. But today's world, you couldn't do that because he could have never got the business license in today's world. He's a convicted felon. Today's world, you can't do it because he could have never got the financing, the loans that were needed, the support, the corporate support, because he's a convicted felon. And it just doesn't seem to me like there's any opportunity for anyone with the felony convictions to move on. I just had a call here. I don't know if it was just somebody trying to contact me or if it was somebody calling in for the show. Quite possibly somebody just trying to reach out to me. Pedro, if you're hearing this and you were trying to call into the show, please call back. I'm sorry I declined your call. I don't know which way it is. He's a personal friend. He could just not realize I'm on air. And this phone number, it is my regular phone number. Those watching during the week, if there's something you want to pass along to me, you can still message me at this number during the week, and we can go from there. So, but yeah, back to the subject of being a lifetime sentence. Some guy got caught with a little bit of crack 30 years ago. Nonviolent crime. Maybe he had a little addiction problem. He took a felony conviction just to make life better, to just get through. Took a parole-only sentence or probation-only sentence, completed a couple of years of probation, moved on with his life. Everything's great. Up until 3 years ago, that man was not allowed to vote. That man was not allowed to hold most professional business licenses. That man was not allowed, or is not still allowed to hold most professional business licenses. That man would not be able to do pretty much anything. Doesn't matter what he's doing with his life. Now, if he's stuck working a minimum wage or slightly above minimum wage, physical, hard, crappy job somewhere, what's his incentive? He's never going to get a better job. He's never going to be able to vote. He can't go target shooting with 3 of his neighbors who he gets along with and has beers with every day. And they might say to him, hey, we're going to go target shooting. You ever fired a gun? You want to join us? And his answer has to be, by law, sorry, I'm not allowed. Because if he gets caught with a gun in his hand, he goes to prison for 5 years. And he never did anything violent in the first place. He has no incentive to improve his life. We've taken it all away. We've taken it away in the guise of being public safety. We're creating more problems. Now, certain elements of our society, it doesn't matter what incentives you give them. Some people, you tell them, listen, this is your 10th time being arrested for drugs. We're going to send you away for 5 years, and when you get out, we're going to give you $1 million if you never, ever again commit a crime. We'll give it to you up front. They're not going to take the money because they know as soon as they get out, they're going to go back to what they're doing. It's just how it is. Some people are criminals. Always have been. Always will be. The rest, crime's nothing new. I'm a student of the Wild West era. I love it. I read everything I can. I watch everything I can.
Me too.
Well, then you know. What is the subject of the Wild West?
Good
Crime.
guys. Yeah, pretty much.
Crime.
Yeah.
It was there. Prisons are nothing new. We've had prisons, and before prisons, we had dungeons and castle basements. It's all going to continue, and it'll keep continuing in the future. We're never going to stop it. All we can do is mitigate it. We can make life better for us. Well, in order to make life better, those who make the mistakes once or twice in their life need the opportunity to prove that they can get better. And we're just not seeing that now. People who claim to be about forgiveness will jump to make sure that we get longer, harder sentences. We make it public. Some states, they have a drug offender registry. I just found out about that last night. I watch a lot of true crime shows, too, things like 48 Hours and that, because, well, it feeds into the show. I consider it, doing research.
Plus, you're watching, like, a show, I mean.
Yeah. Well, you're also...
It's a win-win.
Yeah. You're seeing where these crimes happen, though.
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing how communities respond to them. And I was watching that, and they picked someone up because they were failed to register as a drug offender. That was the warrant they had. Why do we have a registry for drug offenders? The time and money and effort we spend on that, we could have probably sent that person through rehab, which most courts already have a drug court system. One of the first ones set up in this area were in Lockport, and it was over 20 years ago, I think now. And it works for people who want it to work.
Like you said before, some people are always going to be a criminal.
Exactly. There's some of us who, and I was going down that path, and if it wasn't for my wife, I'm pretty sure I would have continued down that path. We got a new watcher here just joined in. Kathy, how we doing tonight? I'm glad to see you're watching. Kathy is a very good friend of mine's mother. She knows my history pretty well, so there's nothing revealing here tonight. But like I was saying there, though, we need incentive. What is the incentive? People go out, they change. Let us seal those records. My conviction was 18 years ago, 17, 18 years ago. I did 2 years of probation. So let's say 15 years without doing anything wrong, without being arrested, without being questioned. Why am I still being tagged as a bad guy? I know other people who are in their 60s and their 70s were arrested in their 30s, in their 20s. Same problem. A lot of these guys go back to dealing drugs or even start dealing drugs or start stealing because they can't get back to the life they had before they screwed up. There is no path. We talk about a path of citizenship unless you commit a crime, and then the path is to remove many of your citizens' rights. And like I said, this should not be a political issue. I understand the law and order people, it conflicts with their beliefs, of do your time, pay your price, move on. And the other side, like I said, they want to see cops go away in general. So, and I'm going to tell you, both sides are wrong, completely wrong. There's no justification for it, for either side. You're going to extremes. Knock it off. Find the middle. Let's work this out. And on an issue like this, we shouldn't make it political. There's no reason for it. We should be strictly working to better our society. You don't better a society by creating two classes of citizens.
That's why all like Rome and stuff like that, who did the caste system, that's why a lot of them have fallen, because they had those different class systems and people weren't together.
No opportunity to move ahead. If you want that guy on the corner who's slinging dime bags on the weekend, if you want him to move on with his life, you need to give him an incentive. I'm not seeing the incentive for him to do it. He's not seeing the incentive for sure. He doesn't know that he can better his life. Well, a parole officer will tell you every opportunity out there. A probation officer will tell you every opportunity out there. Their job is not to get you in a trap and send you back. Because if a parole officer or probation officer has a majority of his cases that are being referred back to prison, his supervisor is going to come to him and say, "What are you doing? Your job is to supervise these guys."
His job is to make it so that way you don't go back.
Right. That's exactly what his job is. So if he's not doing everything to make sure you don't go back, then he's going to get in trouble. They give you this information if you're willing to take it. Not everybody is willing to take it.
Hugh,
yes, ma'am.
For those that don't understand, would you explain the difference between probation and parole?
Okay. This is one that gets confused quite a bit. basically parole is post-release supervision. It means if you've been in prison, in a state-run facility, after you get out, you will do a period of parole, post-release supervision. It's to help assimilate you back into society. It's also there to ensure that you do make your changes that you say you're going to make. And parole always comes on an early release. It's never attached at the end of a person who maxes out their sentence. So if someone's sentenced to 5 years, with good time, they're going to do about 3. Well, those last 2 years, they're not just free and clear. They're doing them through parole. They're doing them while they're at home, while they're working, while they're making a living, while they're living their life in a proper way. And probation is a direct from the court sentence. If a judge decides that parole or decides that prison is a little too harsh for you, such as in my case, they decided that prison was too much for what I was pleading guilty to, then they'll give you just probation. Same rules as parole. You got the same supervision level, the same steps you got to take. Still a court-ordered babysitter is the best way to describe what both positions are. But with probation, you never had to do the prison side, which I'm thankful for in my case because I was facing some longer years.
That's something I do. That's something I do agree with. I do think that like people, like if they do get an early release, or if it's not, or if their punishment's not that hard, that they should be able to still live in society, but still have to follow, like still have to kind of live out their punishment still.
Oh yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Early release is there for a reason. If you go to prison and they got programs and they got education and they got all these opportunities. And while you're there, you're showing the step. You're taking those steps. You're doing the programs, AA, NA, whatever counseling is available that may help you. You're doing the education. I don't care if it's learning how to be a welder or learning how to be a lawyer, which, by the way, you can never be once convicted of a felony. There's no lawyers out there who are convicted felons. But if you're taking those steps while you're in prison and you're not getting in trouble and you're not getting written up for anything, and you had a 5-year sentence, yeah, you've earned that good time. But if you're not, and you're out there screwing around, you don't take advantage of any of the opportunity being given. You're either out in the yard or in your cell watching a TV or in the day room or whatever. And you're not trying to make any improvement. Then you shouldn't get the opportunity for the early release. Unfortunately, it's a standard now. State time, you do 2/3. To lose that good time, you got to really work at it. And I mean really work at it. So, but I have no problem with an early release. I have no problem with a probation only, a parole only. The judge passed the sentence that they felt was just. The prosecutor, if it was a plea deal, the judge agreed to it, the prosecutor agreed to it, the defense agreed to it, and that was the deal they came to. And if it went to trial and the judge passed the sentence, that's what the judge felt was right. We have a call coming in.
I have no problem with an early release. I have no problem with a probation only a parole.
Caller, thank you. Can you please turn your radio down there? Or whatever device.
Yeah. If you can get either you to speak up louder or the other guy, I think his name is Dustin or something, to turn his down, because Dustin's coming in a lot louder than you.
Okay. Barbara, did you hear that?
Yeah.
All right. So I don't know if
I'll try backing up.
Yeah, you get a lot tighter up on your mic than
Yeah,
me.
I do that.
So, okay, thanks a lot. I appreciate the show input. We need this kind of help around here. It is a learning process. I'm new to this. Dustin, more experience than me. So anything on the topic this evening, though?
Barbara, did you hear that?
All right, we're gonna cut this one out. Yeah, please, when you're watching and listening, if you call in, can you do me a favor and make sure you turn down whatever device you're listening on? We do have a delay here, and the echo is
unbearable.
Yeah. It'll confuse you. It confuses me. And poor Barb, who's running our sound tonight, it'll drive her insane. And
that's because I'm deaf in one ear.
Yeah. Yes, we have a deaf sound person.
She's amazing at it, though.
Yes, she is.
I'm working on it.
But
if people, when they call in, could also say their name and where they're calling from, just so we know like what kind of coverage we get.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
But yeah, that echo will drive everyone nuts. And like I said, for Barb over there, it's even worse because Barb, well, she's already pretty close there. It's a short drive. So, love you, Barb. Thank you for running my sound. But
yeah, you got to be careful. She can make his sound really bad.
Oh, I know. Yep.
Or it can mute you.
Yeah, go ahead and mute me. We'll have 28.
You don't want to give him that luxury.
28 more minutes of silence. I'm all about it tonight.
No.
So, but yeah. So first, anyone who is listening, right here, there's the phone number. Hey, look I got the line right. There's the phone number. Please feel free to call in, share your thoughts. If you think I'm being a complete idiot and I'm being naive on this, I welcome your call. If you're 100% behind me, I welcome your call. If we're somewhere in the middle, that'll be fun because then we can come to some sort of ground that we can settle on. But just all I ask is let me know who you are and please be entertaining on your call. Those are the only things I need to know. So it's being a rough night here.
You're doing good.
Yeah. Well, this is a subject that really strikes me. Not just because it affects me personally, because at this point in my life, I've got the business going. I own the house. I don't have a mortgage. I don't have to worry about making my mortgage or my rent. You know, I own my vehicles outright. I don't have to worry about making the payments on those.
Speaking of your vehicle, it's massive. It's
Yes, I drive a very large truck, and Dustin has fallen out of it while we were out doing some filming.
So if I was to stand up, it's almost taller than me.
Yeah.
I didn't know you fell out of it.
Yeah, it was my first time getting in. The thing's huge.
Yeah, it's a good sized vehicle. It makes a statement, especially when you're trying to jaywalk in front of me. I'm gonna win. But I can't remember where I was just going. Thank you, Dustin. You threw me right off.
You were talking about how you own your vehicle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I own all this, if the laws on felons stay the exact same as they are now, it's not going to affect me. I have a retirement account set up. My wife has a decent job. I have the bike shop. We're doing okay. I can survive. Guys just coming out, they don't have that luxury. And I'll be honest, if it wasn't for my wife, I wouldn't either. She came into the relationship with some assets that helped us. And she forced me to continually better myself. If it wasn't for her, I'd probably still be doing just basic labor on some house crew. Framing up houses somewhere. That or I'd be back in prison. Either way, you know. And luckily, my wife realized that, completed the sentence, talked to the guy, see if he's a decent guy. It took me a while to convince her I was a good guy. But she, in the end, she's seen it. You know, it's been a lot of years, and she's not watching tonight. She's at home with our daughter, who's had a lot of hockey this week and is probably being a little moody and a little tired. Be nice if she was, though. But
You, why don't you do a plug for your motorcycle shop?
I'm trying to keep that out of here right now.
No, I think you should plug it.
Well, we can do it. Yes, I own a motorcycle shop in Lockport. I do custom show bikes, low cost show bikes. The company's called Mad Builder Designs. I can be found on Facebook or, yet again, right here. That's also the business number. So if you call me, most likely I'll answer with the business name anyway. But we do custom show bikes, 3 years running. Been the award-winning best bike at the Alcott Car Show. We also several wins of Lockport Car Show, Peak and Peak Rally, and a couple out-of-state shows I've won. Maybe in the future we'll put an ad together to actually run. Wasn't prepared to put a plug in for the business. But, yeah, it's a full-service customizing shop. We do everything in-house except for tires and machine work because the machines for machining cost too much money, and tires, I have guys who can get a better deal than I can, and I recommend them. So if you have an old motorcycle, a new motorcycle, an import, an American-made bike, doesn't matter. Give me a holler. Maybe we can do something as simple as a little bit of chrome and a little bit of flash to turn it all the way up to turning it into a full show custom chopper or cruiser, bagger, whatever you're into. I personally love my bagger. And Dustin, I'll show you photos later. You'll fall in love.
I've been on a motorcycle probably twice, and it that's probably the only. I don't know. I guess I don't know what a baggard is really.
My daughter calls it the grandpa bike. They're big, they're heavy, they're obnoxious, and I love it. So, well, yeah, thank you for letting me plug the show there, or plug the business there, Barbara. I was not thinking about doing it, and I've been trying to avoid it because we get into some pretty heavy topics here. Hopefully people realize that the bike shop is separate from the politics, is separate from my history.
Exactly.
None of the three items are connected to each other, never have been, never will be. I don't put up any political yard signs because I don't want it getting back onto my business. And it makes a better neighborhood not to have 3 for one person, 3 for the other, and then it.
Plus, you don't have holes in the ground.
I ride the bikes through the yard. I don't care. So, I'd also like to put in a quick plug today for the Niagara County SPCA. Earlier in the season, in the COVID season, we'll call it, which might as well since the shutdowns all started and they're coming back again. They ran out of dogs and were running short on cats. Erie County completely ran out of all adoptable animals for a little bit in the beginning. Well, those places are full again. Last month, I adopted a dog from the SPCA, and they have no idea I'm doing this plug. I'm not getting anything out of it. I did the full adoption process, the full adoption price, and I couldn't be happier. They don't have just angry pit bulls like most people think of in a shelter. We got a coonhound who's very fast and an escape artist, it turns out. A friend of mine just got a bloodhound recently from there.
I actually, my 2 cats that I had now, and then we've also had a cat from before, we've all gotten from the SPCA. So, yeah, they do. I remember going there. They have, it's a nice setup, that's for sure.
Oh, it is. It's a beautiful facility. They take great care of the animals. They have a vet on staff.
Funny thing is it was right across my elementary school.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It is.
Yeah. So that's how I always knew where it was, because there was always the big sign whenever we'd come up to school.
And this will actually wrap right back around into tonight's subject of felons for life. I can't volunteer at the SPCA. They do a background check. Wow. I'm a convicted felon. I can't volunteer at the SPCA.
And that's a
How?
shame.
I'm kind of confused how I feel like that would only be if like I feel like they would only be inputted if you were like hurting animals and you got a felony for that. I don't think.
But even that, you go through the through, you do your time, you do the probation, you do the parole, whatever they give you, you do your prison time, you get out, you go several years without doing it again, and now you want to step up and help.
And also,
why would you ban that person?
And you're also allowed to have a pet though, so that also doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can adopt. I can take an animal from the shelter and care for him. I just can't care for him at the shelter. But it's their policy. And until we change the laws, and that's the problem, is I don't believe this can be done on a local level. We can do a lot of steps on a local level. On a state level, we can do most of this. And on a federal level, we can make it mandatory nationwide. Like I said, on a local, city, county level, I don't think there's a whole lot that can be done about this problem, other than their own policies, which would be a great starting point for Niagara County or Erie County or anywhere else in the country. Just one county to start it. And say, we won't look more than 5 years. And like I said, the first 5 years someone's out of prison, they're still acclimating, they're still proving themselves, they're still trying to show they are functioning in society. That's why I agree. Keep it as it is right now for the first 5 years. But once you get through that time period, again, this goes back to bail reform. Criminals aren't smart. We really aren't. We don't put that much planning and forethought into stuff. We don't think about what the outcome's going to be. We think about the instant gratification of what we're doing. And that's a tough one for a lot of people to swallow, is understanding it. We don't think about it. We don't plan. You're not going to have a guy who commits a crime, does 15 years in prison, gets out, does 5 years of parole, and then 5 years on his own without doing anything wrong. And this whole time he's got it in his mind that, just wait till it's done, I can do it again. Well, no, you can't, because if you get caught, you're going to prison, and when you get sentenced,
you have to do it all over again.
That judge who's sentencing you is going to be able to open up your file then and go, hey, look. This guy was an idiot 15 years ago the exact same way. And your sentence is going to be heavier. Criminals don't care about that. We don't think. We don't plan. Nobody would be thinking, I'm going to stay low for 5 years and then I'm going to get back into low-level street drug dealing. Now, if you can stay straight for 5 years and live through the system.
It's your choice. It's your choice.
You're not going back to that.
Yeah.
And you have an incentive to not go back. Because you're going to do right the first few years and you're going to start to see a little profit from it. And you're going to want to continue and continue and continue. And it's really, it could do great things. Now, I know that Mr. Cuomo is not listening to me. And if Mr. Cuomo was listening to me, he'd probably be trying to figure a way to get charges filed on me for some things I've said about him in the past. But if I had any way to communicate to him directly on this issue, I would tell him, get rid of the stupid bail reform the way it was done. Meet with people who know. And then get rid of the lifelong felony conviction. We want to move on with our lives. We want to go forward. We want to live our lives. We can't do that. Most convicts don't want to go back. Some know they're going to go back. Many do. And they'll tell you when they're in there, I won't be out long. I've seen guys, who found out they were up for parole. And, oh yeah, I'm gonna get parole. I'll probably be back in 3 or 4 months. There's no incentive for them to do any better. But even if there was, they probably won't. It's who they are. And how are we going to find out which are the good ones and which ones are forced to stay in their lifestyle? Give them a reason. Keep those prison programs we have going. The beauty of this idea I have of sealing the record after 5 years with no conviction is it costs nothing. There is zero cost to the taxpayer.
It wouldn't affect anything besides just bring down crime.
Give me an incentive. Give criminals an incentive. Because I'll guarantee you there's somebody out there tonight on the street corner who's already done a federal bid or a state bid, who when they got out thought they were going to turn that corner, they were going to get themselves back, they were going to get out there, get a job, and it never happened. And when it dawns on you after, and it's not going to happen, it's a hard hill to get over. But if you know, hey, listen, I'm going to struggle here. These next 5 years are going to suck. But when I'm done, I can make that next step. I can go to that stone quarry that's paying better and get a job. I can get a job with one of these bigger construction companies. I can go to the union hall, get an apprenticeship. Because on the union application, one of the questions are, have you ever been convicted of a felony? It's not good. Why should your union have to know about that? In all honesty, why should your employer?
That should be a personal thing between you and anything that was dealt with that situation.
Yeah, if I went those 5 years without doing anything wrong, why should anyone have to know about it? I've shown this isn't the life I want to live. The life I'm living now is. The difference from A to B, it's huge. People need to live that difference. And I truly wish we could. Unfortunately, with the technical era that we're in now, I can go online and get information. Anyone can go and look it up. When you sign a job application, you give them permission. When you sign a rental agreement, when you sign an application for college, you give them permission to look this stuff up, and they can decline you. All of that. Doesn't matter how long ago it was. And if you lie about it, and they do look it up, now I'll be honest with you, I've lied. I've filled out job applications, I've filled out rental applications, and I've lied. No conviction. Yeah, you're correct, Jill. I agree. You do the crime, you do the time. The time should not be lifetime. And that's where the difference comes in. Jill Shaw with a comment, do the crime, do the time. And everybody agrees with that.
But it should be for the time that was sentenced.
Yeah. You do just that time.
Yeah.
Not a lifetime of being restricted and being limited.
You're basic at that point after your sentence. You're basically being punished for something that you haven't even done.
Well,
you
did do it.
Yeah, but I meant
But it wasn't the sentence you agreed to.
Yeah.
Or the sentence the judge even gave you. I've never seen a judge out there give someone 3 to 5 plus life. Usually it's life plus 3 to 5 would be the way they phrase it on a life sentence. But I've never seen a judge restrict somebody because they don't have to. Them laws are already in place. Like I said, you can't hold a professional license. You can't hold a lot of jobs. You can't get a lot of apartments. You can't get mortgages. You can't. A lot of times you won't be able to go to college. While you're in prison, you can get your degree. But you get out, you want to go to community college to better yourself. Oh, no. Which doesn't make sense. It's the same teachers, same professors. I really wish Peter was here tonight because Peter has worked in the prisons. And he'll tell you the same thing. There's no incentive to improve.
Yeah.
And I want to see crime reduced. Yeah, I'm a criminal. Well, was. I want to see crime reduced. I want to see everything safer. I want my 6-year-old daughter to be able to walk those 10 blocks to school next year when she's in 2nd grade. Not have to have me there to sign her in, sign her out. I would love to see that. That's what we need. So, hang on, I got a message coming in here. Well. But, yeah, I want to see everyone better themselves. I want to see the street criminals stop. I want a better world for my daughter than I have now.
And one thing I do think is I think that now that we are in the technological era, I feel like that would make this whole process go even faster than if it was to be without, because you can use this stuff. You don't have to just use it to track everyone no matter what. You can, if someone does a crime, you can see if they're still doing that crime over the course of the 5 years, and then basically just leave them alone unless they get arrested or evicted again.
Oh, yeah. If you get arrested again, well, I mean, that's out there. That's an arrest. And that's how it works. Kim, the judges don't let people off just on their own. Generally, the judges will have a plea agreement set in place between the prosecutor and the only time a judge will set it aside, a ruling, and just go off on their own and do less, is if they believe there is justification. Jill Shaw writes in, you have to redeem yourself. Nothing personal, but I want to know the type of person I'm working with and what type of person is sitting next to my child in a classroom. Well, sure. And a person who has committed a crime years ago, did their sentence, went 5 more years without any supervision, without someone holding their hand and watching over their shoulder, 5 more years, no crimes, no charges. That's a person who's redeemed themselves.
And a lot of times that's the person that's sitting next to you.
Yeah, that's the person who is showing they want to be different. They want to be better. They want to be part of society. And that person shouldn't be branded for life when they are trying to correct their actions from earlier in life. And yes, this is self-serving a little to me. But at the same time, like I said, I'm not affected much by it right now. I don't have to worry about landlords. I don't have to worry about job applications. All of that's handled for me now. I've fought my way against this system to get better.
Hugh, if I could just interject. For 33 years, I worked for the state of Ohio as a vocational rehabilitation counselor, and I worked with a lot of criminals. Drug was a big issue, but many times it depends upon the offense and what they get sentenced to And that's what people are afraid of. Are they going to be sitting, or as Jill says, working with somebody who is a repeat offender or who has done a crime against someone else, where there's a victim?
Well,
that's what people are afraid of.
Yeah, and I understand that. But like I said, if it was a youthful indiscretion, or even as an adult, especially for men, because as anybody out there will admit, all men at heart are 12-year-old boys. We really do lack maturity at times.
Boy, Justin, you better grow up.
And you get a...
I don't... I mean, I'm past 12 years old and I'm still not grown up, so something's going wrong.
You get a group of us together and it's going to be the same thing. You know, and that's just how it is. We're juvenile beasts at heart. But if someone made mistakes in their lives and they've paid their debt, they've done their time in jail or prison, probation, parole, and they continued after that to continue to live their life the right way, why should we be tagging them for life? You need to give people the incentive to be better. And being branded is not an incentive. So, well, we're coming near the end of our show tonight here. I'd like to thank Jill and Kim for writing in. I appreciate your comments. Barb, thank you so much for your input tonight. Barb, now when you worked in those prisons, I have to ask you, what was the work you were doing again?
I was a vocational rehabilitation counselor.
So you were teaching people trades for when they got out of prison.
I was more like a case manager.
Oh, okay.
I didn't do the teaching, except I dealt with people with all different kinds of disabilities. So I had people on my caseload that had developmental disabilities, mental retardation, cerebral palsy, muscular dystrophy, quadriplegia, and then I had a whole bunch of offenders. In fact, when I worked in Cuyahoga County, I had half of the county's offenders who had a diagnosis of mental retardation. They were on my caseload.
Yeah, and that's a whole lot harder to get them placed after. And that's
actually it was easier.
Oh, yeah, probably. There's
because
more
they
programs.
had minimal skills anyway.
Yeah. But
a question for someone who is kind of confused. What is mental retardation?
Dustin, we'll talk about it on the phone.
Yeah, we'll talk after the show, Dustin.
Okay.
There's so many jokes that would just be so wrong right now.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, but with your time in the prisons, Barbara, I'm sure you've seen this on a repeat basis. Guys who knew they had no hope when they got out. There was nothing that could happen for them. They couldn't get better. But if they were given that opportunity to not commit another crime and get their life back, do you believe that most would take advantage of that? Or do you think that, once you're a criminal, you're always a criminal?
No, I think, the areas that I dealt with, there was a high incidence of crime anyway. So that was their, instead of working in their father's occupation or business, that was the family business, was drugs or drug running, gun running. Those are the hard cases, and that's what I was saying. We will always have criminals. Yeah.
There's no getting around that.
But the drug laws made a lot more people offenders than had any necessity to be that.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the guys that drive across the Peace Bridge with 250 pounds of marijuana or whatever it is, the big truckloads full, half the time they don't even know what they're doing.
Right.
But a lot of the people that I worked with, it depended on their families. It depended on their motivation. The other thing was that a lot of them lived in such serious poverty that going to jail was a good thing for them because they got meals, they got a place to sleep, they got showers. In fact, it was a funny incident. The sheriff in Ashtabula County called me on the phone one day, and he said, why is it that every holiday we get a huge influx of your consumers. And I said, because you're feeding them better than what they get at home. I said, at home they don't get turkey and stuffing and mashed potatoes and green beans and, pumpkin pie and apple pie. I said, at home they're lucky if they get a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And that was the sad truth. Very sad truth. But yeah, it was a long, hard road sometimes.
Sure was. Well, I'm going to wrap the show up with that tonight, folks. It's been good. Dustin, thank you for your input. Barbara, your background, your history on this. I was unaware of this before we did the show tonight. I thank you so much. You really stepped up.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm really appreciative of the information and the entertainment you added this evening. Again, to all our listeners and watchers out there, I thank you so much. Feel free to get a hold of me during the week if there's a different show topic you want to cover that would fall into how we can actually prevent crime. And I mean actually prevent. Thank you very much. That'll be it.